All right. We're back, baby. Huddle Up podcast. I think we're on it's like 13 or 14.
I think it's 13.
Yep. My busy season kind of been lacking on getting videos up on time, so it's my fault. But we're gonna figure it out. Once I'm through this too, it'll be the content will start going rapid fire. So looking forward to it. Um, got Hayden with me as always, repping the LA, repping the Dodgers.
Ripping the
Baseball,
Dodgers.
the Dodgers.
The
Uh,
Dodgers.
Baseball's back, so we're gonna hit on that today. A little NFL, a little NBA. Probably the last NFL for a little bit. I think we'll see
Probably till
though. We'll
around
see.
the.
Or like
Unless
right.
something crazy happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So really, only one thing that we haven't covered that's been big with the NFL. So we're just gonna hit on that real quick. Chase and T both got extensions done, both with Cincinnati. Obviously, that was not a shock for Jamar. A little bit of a surprise, I think, for fans of the league with T. So, um, what do you think? Yeah, just in general, like, what do you think about really signing T? I mean, if you want to dive into Jamar as well, go for it. But I feel like there's more
Yeah.
with T.
I think it was good on the Vikings, I guess. I think that's my first shout out because they got Justin Jefferson on a good deal in comparison to
Yeah,
Jamar. I think I think the team, or like even like a good example would be the Bills. Like they locked up Benford yesterday, who's probably a top at least 15 corner, if probably not 10, and they locked him
yeah,
up for like 16 million a year, which is like unbelievable. But I think the T Higgins contract, I don't know if you saw it as well, but I basically, from what I saw on Twitter, people were calling it a 1 year deal, which was just kind of odd on T Higgins' end because he was looking for guaranteed money. Obviously, right? Like he didn't want to play on the franchise tag anymore. But he basically took a 1 year deal because there's outs after like every year. I want to say for the Bengals, so it didn't make sense in that regard because I thought he just wanted the guaranteed money. I'm sure the Patriots would have offered him four for at least 120.
yeah.
With like 80, 90 guaranteed maybe. I don't know if I'm not spot tracker over the cap or anything, but I
That
feel like
seems
those are
about
pretty
right to me.
fair numbers. So
Yeah.
it's just weird to me, especially because not even the fact that you're trying to trade your best defensive player, but the fact that you're you're not committing any of that money whatsoever to the O line. And I also read this too, and low key, I think this is true. But the Bengals getting to the Super Bowl in Joe Burrow's second year was the worst thing to happen to their team because
Yeah, I can.
they reached a height that they probably shouldn't have reached in such a fast time, and they made it there with basically a bunch of like Mountain West starting offensive linemen, and now they just think that they can skate by with getting like below league average guys there. I just think it's an organizational failure. I don't know why you would pay T Higgins if you're not going to pay Trey Hendrickson. I don't know why you'd pay T Higgins if you're not going to pay any O linemen. I predict. I don't think this is a hot take either. I think Joe Burrow will be gone in 3 years for sure. I don't think he's a Bengal
Wow.
for life. I think something's going to come up, especially if T Higgins sticks around. I think if they can get off of the contract and get stuff for him, I think you can replace his value. I think on the defensive side of the ball because I think obviously Jamar's a top two wide receiver, and I don't think you need too much more. Like they have Yoshi Voss with him. I think he could be a good, number two, maybe number three, and Chase Brown looks good. I think if they just fix the O line and got an actual defense, they'd be an actual team. But they just, I don't know. I don't think that they're necessarily caught up in winning. I think they're more so caught up in friendship and the non-business side of football. So that's just kind of, I mean, cool for them because they're like the new Kurt Warner and Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, but
Yeah.
you know they just won't have the hardware to go with it. So I don't understand it.
Yeah, I was biting my tongue because I'm trying to let you finish, and I don't want to interrupt every 5 seconds, but there's a lot. I forgot when we were talking about this before. because this deal was a while ago, I forgot about like the contract piece for T, but I did know about it. Very, very weird that he would take that. Or like I get it's hard because you value like it's kind of a balance, right? Like you want to win, but you also want to get your bag and kind of like the smart players. Like Edelman was talking about this a couple days ago. Like the smart players understand that like if you're in a place where you're winning and you can contend, if you're able to win, like let's say you're all about the money, right? If you take a cheaper deal and win with a contender, you have like way more off the field money than you would with like New England or whoever, right? Kind of in T's case. Like, so I do respect him for still signing that deal. I just think it's like, it could really backfire on him. Like, it could be the difference of, 60 plus million, really. But he believes in himself. So we'll see how that plays out. I think on the Bengals side, and like, I'm okay. I want to jump all over the place. I'm gonna try and not do that. But remember when, and I'll tie this together. I promise. When Danielle Hunter, the Texans end, got his extension, and it was like, okay, like that's a weird like 1 year deal. Like, kind of feels like the Texans went to him instead of the other way around with that
Like
extension.
the recent one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think it's super interesting because all the Bengals had to do was just pay their guys initially. Like the cap keeps increasing by like 10% every single year, and guys are going to just keep demanding more and more money. So you got to sign guys early. And they completely botched it with Chase and they botched it with T. If they had signed him, like Jamar would have probably been, yeah, Jamar was last year, right? And T, I think they were both last year for extensions. Like they were both kind of in talks there, right? That was the
yeah.
timeline. Yeah, if they signed, like, yeah, it wouldn't have been cheap for sure, but like they would have saved what, like 20 mil in cap space for this year, probably. Like for this next year specifically. Like the difference between the timing is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I mean, they'd probably be giving Chase like 30 something instead of 41 or
Yeah.
whatever, and then Higgins would probably be in the mid 20s instead of the 30s.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that right there is the difference between having Trey Hendrickson or not having him.
Yeah.
Like, sign your players early. It sucks to like you don't want to be in the Brandon Ayuk business, right? Like
Yeah.
I totally understand that the Niners, did what I'm pitching, right, and it backfired. But when it's a guy like Jamar Chase, and even like T, I'm a huge fan of T. I think he's like anywhere else, besides a couple places, he's a clear wide receiver one. I mean, you just sign these guys, and you just you know like you hate it in the moment a little bit more than you might, but it pays off for your team in the long run. So I'll be interested to see if like teams kind of watch what happened in Cincinnati and they're like, okay, we're not going to let that happen. We're going to sign guys early. But I think for the Bengals, it's a good move. I mean, they got T on a very team friendly deal. So if you're able to do that as an organization, like you're patting yourselves on the back, I guess, a little bit.
Especially too, because it didn't seem like he was gonna be a Bengal. Like it
No, not at all.
everything indicated that he was gonna be either traded or eventually walk away from them for more money and a bigger position.
No,
So,
I did not think he was going to be a Bengal this year at all. I
yeah,
would have ranked that pretty low on the, on the
like
options. So,
likelihood. Yeah,
so I think it's good for Cincy. I think, like, I mean, they say they have arguably one of the best offenses in the league, bringing him back. So you still have problems on defense. That's pretty obvious, But you can like their problem is they haven't been able to draft guys defensively and like really keep them and produce that talent. Like they're trying to go for kind of the Rams blueprint of like being young on defense, but you got to draft well to do that.
Yeah.
So um, it'll be interesting to see how it goes in the draft and if they can, really solidify that defense. But they're probably going to be second in the division, if I had to guess. I think they'll be above Pittsburgh and below Baltimore pretty clearly. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I don't expect them to make the playoffs though. Again.
yeah, the weird thing with them, like because they started 0-3 or something again this year. If they
Uh-huh.
get off of like the slow start thing, I think they could, hang around.
Yeah.
And I mean,
That's
even this
yeah.
year, like, they rallied at the end after being 0-3. I mean, that week one loss to New England, you can't do that. You can't do that. That really backfired on them. So we'll see. I think the big concerns are, both sides of the trenches, O line and D line, and then just the whole defense. So if they're able to draft some guys, maybe have a guy step up that hasn't, they could have some hope. But wouldn't be surprised to see Joe Burrow gone. That's an interesting point that you have.
Yeah. Someone's gonna. They're all three of them are not going to be Bengals for life. I'd put a kidney on that if I could bet that.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
um, so I think that kind of we'll wrap up our little
yeah,
NFL spiel there, and then we'll
yeah.
take
I'm
it
good with that.
into baseball now.
Yep. Baseball's back, baby. Let's go.
Baseball is so back. I've actually never been more locked in on an opening day than I was this past opening day slash weekend. I was major locked in at Rod Slap's house. I watched every single game start to finish. I was even watching. I watched Angel games, Dodger games. I watched a little bit of Seattle. I caught some Giants Reds. There's a couple other games that I caught, but I just wanted to get your thoughts. I don't know how much of it you caught. I know you're the resident Strohs fan here on our
Yes, sir.
podcast. Just
Hey,
curious what you.
let me get my trash can. Hold on.
Yeah, let's get banging. I just curious what your thoughts were of the series against the Mets, and then kind of your overall outlook on the season,
Yeah.
and then maybe a guy on the team that you think um, is someone to look out for, either pitcher, batter, whatever the case. Hell, manager, even I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll pass the manager part.
Yeah.
He's fine, but it's not nothing crazy. So total transparency. I've been following every game, but it's hard for me to watch while I'm working like, 10 to 12 hours a day, especially when some of them are during the day. So I haven't gotten to watch. I watched a little bit late of that first game against the Mets. But I'm more box score right now until I get out of my busy season.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I think Jordan's start has been a little bit concerning to me. Losing Tucker and Bregman, there's just a lot of questions with kind of the lineup. Christian Walker, I need to see how he's been doing. I think he might have. Did he like get hurt or something? I think he did.
I didn't
Uh,
see.
Hold on. Let me just look at today. I thought he didn't play today. No, he did. He was just 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Okay.
Mm,
Um, so Stros are 2-1, which I'm happy with. The Mets were supposed to be, solid with Soto. So 2-1 to start the year. I'm pretty happy with that. And in all 3 games, even the loss, the pitching's been really good, which that was my main concern. Even with my concerns with the batting lineup, my main concern was for sure pitching. So we pitched Valdez game 1. He did his thing. He's a little bit up and down, but not too big of a shocker. Hunter Brown got the loss, but we only scored 1 run on Friday. And then Spencer, who's a good young pitcher, he improved a lot over the course of last year. He got the win Saturday. So, I mean, I'm feeling good. I was a little surprised. Like I kind of gave you my live reaction to the betting odds for Stros to come out of the AL. They're tied for two with the Orioles. It's a little bit surprising to me. I don't think this team has that ceiling, although I would love to be wrong. It just feels like a lot of the Astros fans, including myself, are a little bit down on this team. We kind of see the writing on the wall. Um, but you never know in baseball. And with the Astros, I also trust like the veteran presence. Um, Christian Walker has not played great, but I do like that addition. It's just a very different looking Astros team. I mean, we have Tuve in outfield, which is kind of crazy. That's a first.
Yeah,
I doubt
that's
he's
a
played out. I doubt he's played outfield
position.
since like high school, probably, if I had to guess.
Yeah,
It's like never been out. So, but it's cool. It seems like from the post game stuff I've been hearing from him, he's really liked that move to the outfield. Kind of gave him a new. And when you really think about it, he's been there for so long. He's probably played infield, his whole career. Um, I don't think he didn't play in college, obviously, but I'm sure internationally he was infield. So it's a good switch. He seems to be happy with it. I just don't know what their ceiling is right now. It's a little early. I think it's lower than most people think, but again, I would love to be wrong. I think the player to watch on the Stros right now is a little bit of an obvious cliche answer here, but Cam Smith, the rookie coming in, he was a part of that Tucker deal, and I mean, the fact that he's in the rotation, the lineup now, I like it a lot. He got a hit his first at bat, which was pretty sweet, or a farming for real. So yeah, overall, I don't have any like super in-depth thoughts because I haven't been able to watch, but I'm pretty happy with 2-1. Happy with the pitching overall, although I'm very curious to see, like starting tomorrow, we have the Giants. I wonder, yeah, Blanco's gonna pitch that game. Blanco's solid, PED demon, but it's fun. Um, so yeah, I think that's kind of my quick. Let's see, about 5 minutes. All my Astros thoughts summed up. How do you feel about that? Do you think there's anyone I'm sleeping on, anyone I'm too hard on?
no, I think I like Cam Smith. I think the guy that is going to have a good season there is Morel. I think he's
Hmm.
the third baseman. I think a lot of his home runs end up in left field. I think was the statistic or something that I had seen, and playing in is it Minute Maid still?
Nope.
Nope.
Peace.
Peace. What is it now?
It's like Durkin or something.
Oh, well, we'll call it Astros Ballpark.
Still the juice box for life, but it is what it is.
The I think the Astros ballpark will benefit him pretty well. I think that uh, they don't need much out of that position. I think they have a pretty well-rounded team.
Mhm.
I couldn't name you every player on their team, but I know the catcher. I forget his name, but he's really solid. Yeah, is it Yanier Diaz?
Yeah, I like Yiner a lot. That was one I probably should have just mentioned. I think he's gonna have a really good year.
Yeah. He'll have a good year. I think Walker will have, he'll be consistent. Maybe a bounce back year from Pena. That would be a pretty cool thing if you're an Astros fan. And then
Yeah.
I know we
Pena's
talked about,
interesting. Sorry, really quick. Pena's
yeah,
interesting because his defense is spectacular. And it always has been. It's
yeah,
just the batting is like so like ever since his rookie year, it's kind of been like a little downhill, but
yeah,
it's tough. I mean,
yeah,
the hardest thing to do in sports is hit a baseball. So, like
yeah,
you can't really hold too much against guys for that. Like you see a 0 for 4 two strikeout game, you kind of got to be like, yeah, it's the hardest thing to do. So,
yeah,
all sports. So,
yeah. But I expect them. I think they'll win the division. I know you said you're not as high on them, but I honestly, I mean, they're tied with the Orioles for second best odds. I think they're better than the Orioles only because I don't believe in their rotation.
Crazy.
And I think that having a much easier division is a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing. Obviously, the AL East is kind of like a slaughter fest right now because I could very well see. You can make an argument that four teams from the AL East, maybe even all five, should be in the playoff. I know that realistically there could only be four, but I mean, you have the Yankees who are just in the World Series. You have the Red Sox who signed Bregman, and they got um, Crochet, and they have a bunch of young prospects that are playing well. Roman Anthony,
Devers has
Campbell,
been rough, really rough.
yeah, and then you have the Orioles, right? And then
Yep.
you have the
Yankees.
Blue Jays.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, the Blue Jays aren't amazing. Shout out Smirky or whatever, but I
Yep.
don't. I mean, you can't sleep on them only because I think Vlad's gonna have an MVP type year, and then I mean the Rays are kind of mid, but I could very well see them not finishing last in that division. So I think the Astros are going to be just fine. I could very well see them coming out of the AL, and I could very well see them losing in the first round kind of again. But I
Yeah.
don't think that'll happen again. I think it's more likely they make it to the World Series. I think they have. I don't think it's underrated. I just think they have a good starting rotation. You got Arrighetti, Brown, Valdez, Blanco. Couldn't name you the fifth starter there, but they have a decent bullpen. We talked
Right.
about it before the pod. They lost Presley, but I don't think that's a huge thing for them. They still have Hater Tax, and I think that they'll probably make an acquisition. Some if they're competing like they should be around the trade deadline, I think that a reliever of some sort could be in their future,
Yeah.
or like some sort of arm for them to bolster. Um, but yeah, I don't expect the Rangers to win the division. I think they will be the only competition. I don't think the Mariners, A's, or Angels are going to be doing diddly squat this year. Um, but yeah, I like the Astros this season. I think they might be my pick out of the AL. Honestly, I don't think the Yankees are. I don't think the Yankees are cutting it for me.
That's interesting. I
Yeah,
think, I mean, the Yankees for sure got their choking tendencies. They're just still loaded. Like, I
yeah.
disrespect them for sure, but like, do I expect them to win the division?
But
I
how about
think yes,
this?
but
Between last year and this year, which Yankees team do you think is better?
oh, and I'd go last year's for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
I I think there's a pretty big gap. I think losing Soto and losing Garrett Cole and replacing them with Max Fried basically is the only person that, I mean, Jason Dominguez, I guess, if you wanted to go that route, but I don't think that they're as good. I honestly think the Red Sox are going to win the AL East. I think that they have a good enough squad, and I think that they're going to have a hell of an offense this year. Shout out Devers for being the worst 3 game opening day stretch ever. I think he went 0 for
yeah,
12 with 10 Ks. Holy
yep.
moly.
I
Holy
picked him
moly.
by the way.
Hey, and
Ball
Nestor
out,
Cortez.
bro. Oh my gosh.
Holy moly. But
Oh,
we'll transition off of uh we'll transition off that for now.
yeah.
Um
Let's
I'm
talk
gonna
about the Dodgers.
yeah, we'll talk I'm gonna throw in a little bit of Angels only because I think
Okay. Yep.
basically the whole media has talked about the Dodgers and what they're capable of. I think it's obvious what they need to do this year if they don't win a championship. It's a flat out disappointment. If they don't win 100 games this year, that's also a disappointment. And if they don't have some sort of MVP on their team, I think that'll be a relative disappointment. Although that's probably towards the bottom of my list. Um, I don't think there's anything that you can really say about them. I think their rotation's deep, especially towards the middle of the year once they get Kershaw, Otani, and Gonsolin back. They're going to have a ton of dogs, and they already have May, Sasaki, Yama, Snell, Glass now. They have Bobby Miller floating around, Landon Knack floating around. The bullpen, I honestly think they have the best bullpen in the league. I think if you have a combination of Trinan, Tanner Scott, Evan Phillips, Michael Kopech, and Kirby Yates, just as your like high leverage guys. That's insane. But then you add in Bonda. God, I'm gonna sound like a casual because I'm blanking on everyone. Jack Dreyer debuted recently. My sleeper pick and the guy that I'm about to talk about is Ben Kasparius. I think he's going to be. Um, I think he has the potential to be an all-star reliever. He's had two really good outings in the time that they've played or the games that they've played already. I like his stuff and everything went up in velocity, so I'm pretty excited about that. I am bummed about Sasaki kind of having a bad start, but I think there's a learning curve for Japanese pitchers because when Yamamoto got shelled last year in Korea, um,
Yeah.
got shelled, and then he still got shelled. I want to say the first couple games in America, and then he kind of turned it around, and he was. If you take away the first couple of starts from his year last year, you could make the case that he was a Cy Young candidate. I know that he missed some time, but I think, yeah, I think that Sasaki will be fine. Everyone clowning him is going to be hella butthurt in a couple years when he like figures it out and he's just dealing
Yeah.
because there's no. I mean, get into a little bit of race theory here, but I think everyone watching the podcast knows that Asian people aren't necessarily the most physically gifted athletes
Well,
out there. Whoa, whoa, whoa! But like, at least height wise, you could say, we're Japanese people aren't necessarily the tallest. I mean, Asians in general, right? But having somebody who's such an anomaly in the pitching aspect outside of Otani, because obviously Otani's like 6'4", and he's like a thick two something.
yeah.
Sasaki's just the skinnier version of it because he's also 6'4". And if you think about the physical advantage that he has compared to Yamamoto, it's pretty wide. I think Yamamoto has probably the best form, at least pitching in the league, just because he's so small and he gets a lot of zip on the ball. And Sasaki has a pretty similar form, actually. Like, I watched a video of them slowed down, and it's basically the same form. It just looks a little different because Sasaki's like a cool 5 inches taller than Yamamoto. But I think with the physical tools, I don't think we've seen anything like Sasaki before in Major League. Like, you could go back to Hideo Nomo. He wasn't necessarily a big guy. Kenta Maeda wasn't a big guy. You could say Darvish was kind of big. He's a little bit bigger, but even then he's not as big as Sasaki. So I guess that'll probably cool it on my Dodgers rant. If they don't win the World Series, huge disappointment of a season. I don't know.
I was curious to see what the odds are right now for
They got to
that.
be like minus. My guess is minus 200.
Nah. Well, okay,
I
so
don't know.
they're not
I feel
minus,
like it's
but
the
it's
money's
Dodgers.
just gonna keep going in on them.
It's Dodgers plus 275, but then next is Braves plus 750. So for a champion, that's a pretty big like get,
Yeah,
especially early.
and
I
they'll
think
probably
it's.
end up. What's up?
I was gonna say I think a big part of that is like when it's so early in such a long season. Like you never know if like injuries, stuff like that, a team can make a
Yeah,
splash. Like that's the only reason it's not more.
yeah, that's fair because everyone in that rotation has uh, it's made out of glass, so we'll see if they make it through all 162. Um,
I was gonna say, are they like if they lost? No, they're 5-0.
yeah,
Sheep.
yeah. Um, but transitioning a little bit off the Dodgers, I'm just gonna talk about the Angels for a second.
Yeah.
Um, don't expect much. Hopefully, they don't lose 100 games this year. Um, they rush a lot of the guys from minors to big league, so I'm expecting to see their number one draft pick from last year, Christian Moore, get some reps. I'm assuming that he'll probably play either third or second, and then Rengifo will probably play the opposite, whatever he doesn't take, and then um, yeah, I'm not super excited about the Angels season. It's already been a pretty bumming. See, and they're 2-1, which is cool, but they've played the White Sox and they've scored
Yeah,
five
the
runs.
opening day was brutal for him.
Yeah, that's just Angel baseball for you. But I think I think the guys to look out for are Joe Adele if he can make more contact with the ball and get consistent and hit better. He was a 2020 guy last year, so I expect him to be around that mark again, potentially even more, especially playing center field and a lot more consistently. Mike Trout in right field is going to be interesting, and then seeing him DH will be cool. I like
I was
Jorge
going to ask
Soler.
about Trout really quick. Do
Yeah,
you, do you think, like, is he going to figure it out this year and be good again? Like, I know it's been more injury related, but like,
yeah. I think that this could be the year that he's healthy, but if it's not this year, it's never going to happen again. Um, I think being in right field will help him a little bit, but at least at Angel Stadium where he's playing 81 games, it's not like it's a huge difference from center field, only because there's still like hazards in right field that he could run into. I mean, last year I think he got hurt running, I want to say, running on the base paths, which obviously isn't right
yeah,
field, but I don't know. I can't guarantee it. I drafted him in fantasy late. I hope that we can get like a 30 home run, 80, 90 RBI kind of year, and then maybe he'll take a couple bags, but I'm totally okay with him never stealing a base again in my life if it means he'll stay
yeah,
healthy. Um,
yeah.
but it's just, I mean, he's of this generation outside of Otani, he's easily the best player. I mean, you could make the argument that Judge is, but Mike Trout's been producing since he was 22, and he was doing the things that Judge was doing, um, at
Is
23,
Harper up there?
24. Who?
Bryce Harper?
Hell no.
No.
Hell no. Harper's good, and he's easily top five of the generation, but like Mike Trout got robbed of a few MVPs. I think he has three right now. I want to say he should easily have five. Um, he got robbed a couple of years, especially coming out as a rookie. But I don't know. I think that his time, and he has the contract or whatever. But I think his time may be coming to an end, at least playing consistently or even being on the team. I don't know if he's just going to retire if the injuries keep stacking up. But yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure watching him because yeah, he like there's not a guy right now where I could be like, oh, that's the next Mike Trout, like easily. Like there's no center fielder right now who's doing the things that he did as a rookie. I think the only person that you could kind of make an argument for is Merrill, and even then, I don't think Merrill's rookie year was what Mike Trout was. But I'd be happy to see Padres fans have a guy like that they could root for, um, to then watch choke in the playoffs like the Padres do every year. You thought I was going to be nice to the Padre fans, huh?
I did for a second. I was like, wow, this is a new leaf.
But finishing up on the Angels, I like Detmers this year. Soriano already pitched a gem yesterday against the Sox.
He did pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, he's pretty good. I think he'll make a jump this year. I'm hoping Detmers plays well. Hoping Ben Joyce keeps pumping out gas out of the bullpen. I think him and Jansen will be a good duo. And they had an underrated
Johnson was a angel.
Angel. Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
saw
they
that.
and they'll have a good bullpen, I think, because after the trade deadline last year, they were like top five in ERA, and they were top 10 in some other good categories. I think they have some guys to maybe be like a high 70, low 80s win team. But I think the guy that's going to be the MVP this year will be Neto. I'm super high on him. He was a 2020 guy last year. His defense is spectacular. I don't know why more people aren't talking about him. I think he's the best shortstop in the AL West outside of Seager. Obviously, Seager is a demon, but I mean, I expect him to potentially even be an all-star this year. That's kind of my expectation, slash maybe like a 25, maybe up his stolen bases 30,
Yeah.
30 bags, and then maybe become a little bit more productive on offense. Oh, Hoppy will be cool, but that's kind of my Angels spiel. I could very well see them being last in the division, which whatever. I'm curious to see what they do with their number two pick in the draft in June. That's my thing because the Holiday brother is available,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of talk about whether or not the Angels are going to go super young or if they're going to want to draft somebody who's coming out of college who's probably a little bit more ready for the pros. But that kind of concludes my rant. If you don't mind, I'll ask you this.
Yeah. I wanted to say it's crazy to me that the Angels. It's just a bummer. They had Trout and Otani, and it just didn't pan
Yeah,
out.
it. it makes you wonder if they never gave that deal to Rendon in 2019, what they could have done with that money, because he signed for the 2019 season, so 19, 20, and 21, 22, 23. That's 5 years that he was on the team. 4? I want to say he's on the team for like 4 or 5 years, and they all overlapped with Otani. It would have been interesting to see if they had actually spent the money on decent players, but being a part-time Angels fan, they never sign guys that you want them to. Pujols, Hamilton, uh, Rendon. They just sign a bunch of washed-up stars so that they can fill the seats. Till the owner sells the team, they're not going to be competitive, I don't think. They have a solid core right now, but their farm's dog water, and yeah,
I do know I don't know him, but Trey Alford, I think he's in their farm system, and he played on Charlie's club team.
guess I'll be
I'll,
looking out for Trey
let
Alford
me
then this season.
Yeah, hold on. Let me just pull this up, and then we can move on. Trey Gregory Alford. I'll send you his. He's in. I don't know where he's at in their farm right now, but kind
He's
of
the same age as Charlie?
2 years older.
I was about to say, geez, dude.
But they all like practice together. Yeah, he's not on the same team, but same like program. Like they all
Gotcha,
like
gotcha.
they all like hit together. They use the same facility.
Okay. I'll be
Anyway,
keeping an eye out on him.
something to look out for. I just sent it to
Yeah.
you.
Okay, I'll
Um,
peep after. I was gonna ask you though, um, real quick, if you had either for the AL, NL, or both, if you had an MVP pick or a Cy Young pick.
Let me look at the odds so I don't look like an idiot here.
I'll give
Uh,
you I'll give you my most obvious answer right
so
now. I think
for which one?
NL Cy Young.
Okay.
I think it's so easily going to be Paul Skeens. I
Yeah,
think if
the
he
odds say
gets
that too.
Yeah, I think if he gets the amount of starts that Scoot Ball got last year, Chris Sale got last year, it's a no-brainer. I'd take him as probably the second best pitcher in the league behind Scoot Ball. You can make an argument that maybe he's better. I probably wouldn't do that right now. I think Scoot Ball is probably top dog until further notice. But
Yeah.
I think Skeens, I don't know. I think Skeens is going to be like the Mike Trout of pitching. I don't think we're going to see stuff happen like this too often. He's built like a tank. He throws like a tank. He moves like a tank. He just plays for a team that always tanks. So it'll be fun to see him in a Dodgers uniform in a few years once they,
Yeah, that'd be
because
crazy. Dreaming though.
he's he's from LA.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that. I guess maybe when it comes around, but I'm curious what if you have any picks slash who you think someone to look out for.
Yeah, I think so. My two picks for each league Cy Young. I'm gonna go different just to make it interesting for the
Okay.
NL, but I think Skeens is like the obvious good pick.
Sorry, I took that one.
Yeah, I think I do like Wheeler a lot.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, every time I've seen him pitch, it's pretty spectacular. In a big market as well. I think that can help if the Phillies do really well and like he's dealing, and Skeens is doing well, but the team isn't as great. Like the tiebreaker probably goes to Wheeler
Yeah.
in that scenario. So I think that's something to watch out for. Um, and I like Scooball in the AL to get it done. Odds wise, the AL is very much closer with like who could take it. Like they're
Yeah.
all pretty close. Um, but I mean, Scooball's phenomenal, as we know. He shoved against the Astros last year in that wild card game one, I believe it was.
Yeah.
He's
And he's a southpaw, so a little more aura.
Yeah, it doesn't get. Yeah, he always is fired up. Skeens is kind of a low key, like he's like the nonchalant merchant,
Yeah.
but he's always got something to say. So, I like him a lot. I think that's kind of the easy pick. Who I would look out for, maybe. Uh, I mean, like Hunter Brown, that's a stretch. Logan Gilbert's always pretty dang good too.
That was my AL pick. I think
Yeah,
Gilbert's gonna have a
I'll
not a
let you take
breakout
over
year,
on
but
that.
what?
I'll let you take over on Gilbert then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I drafted him in fantasy. I think he was my first pitcher taken. I think you had him last year, and I kind of caught on because I thought last year at least Kirby was gonna be a guy who maybe distance himself in that rotation because it's kind of Kirby, Castillo, and Gilbert. But Gilbert blew, just straight blew that rotation open, at least with kind of how big of a gap there is. I think the Mariners probably have a top three rotation easily, if not number one or number two. Um, but I like Logan Gilbert's stuff. I don't watch the Mariners a ton only because they don't want to pay their guys, and so
Yeah,
it just doesn't make for interesting baseball. But I think Logan Gilbert would be a pretty interesting pick. I've seen a lot of people going DeGrom in the AL as like a sleeper
I looked
pick.
at that too.
I I don't like DeGrom as much. I think after like two or three Tommy Johns, at some point you just gotta accept that you're gonna be like a league average pitcher. And you know, I guess people have probably said that before, and he comes back and he deals every single time. So I'll hold my breath until I see him kind of get in the groove of things. But I think Logan Gilbert is a pretty solid pick. I'm trying to think of who else would be a maybe Fromber. I don't know how.
He was number 5 in or no, he was below Hunter Brown actually, which I think is a little
Wow.
interesting.
Maybe because
Uh,
Hunter Brown's got a little bit more juice
Hunter
at the
Brown's got
moment.
some juice. I,
Yeah,
I I don't think he's a Cy Young guy, but I would love if he was. I think he's
yeah,
close to that. I think he has the potential to like. I mean, I watched a lot of Hunter Brown last year. He's
yeah.
always been ever since he came in 2 years ago. He's definitely one of my favorite pitchers to like, watch and follow. Frommer, I don't think Frommer can do it. If I'm being real, I don't think he has enough consistency. Like even last year, he had like the no hitter game, but then he's also got like 10 hit
Yeah,
innings. I don't know.
yeah.
It's like which again is part of that baseball, sure, I guess, but I don't know. Frommer's very up and down, very up and down.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with that. I could see that. My sleeper pick for both NLs is going to be Yamamoto.
mhm.
I think if he's consistent this year, I think he'll be the Dodgers' most consistent pitcher out of everybody. As long as he can stay out of injury trouble, I think just being in LA and having the spotlight on him will definitely benefit his case. Um, I think, yeah, I think he's a good candidate. I don't know what his odds are, but I know that they're not top five. I actually don't think any Dodgers pitcher would be top five outside of maybe Snell, and I wouldn't
Yamamoto's
even.
number 9.
Dang, so that's some good value. If I mean, he already
Hmm.
had a good start to the year. He got rocked a couple times, but he put up 10 Ks in 5 innings. So it's a good sign for him. He had a good showing in Japan too. I think he only
Yeah,
gave
he
up
did.
like one run or something. So I'm pretty hyped for him. I got his jersey ready to go. I'm going to the game on Wednesday for the Shohei MVP bobblehead, so
Well, let's
I'll be
go.
rocking my Yoshinobu Yamamoto. There's a song on TikTok.
Yamamoto.
I'll send you the TikTok, but there's some kid that looks like Yamamoto on TikTok, and he
That's
sings
hilarious.
a Yamamoto song. Real quick though, is there like somebody for MVP that you think is just going to be the obvious,
Yeah,
like
move
somebody
on.
sleeper or like an obvious person? I don't really have MVP picks at this moment. Now, come to
I
think of
mean,
it,
looking at the odds, this is kind of a long shot pick for the um, AL, but Gunnar Henderson, I like Gunnar a lot.
yeah, that's
A
a good
lot.
pick.
He's number 3 plus 1,500. I mean, Aaron Judge has just had a crazy start to the year, so like I get it. He's a minus favorite, which is wild already.
Jesus,
Witt is second. and then Gunnar, and then Seager. That's the top four. I like Gunnar. I think I could see that happening. I think it's pretty obvious to this point that like Aaron Judge should be the pretty clear favorite based on what we've seen. He's been pretty phenomenal. Do you have one in the AL?
I like Gunner. I thought Bobby could have won it last year because that was the best shortstop season that anyone's seen in the last 25, 30 plus years. If Bobby Witt can do that again and Aaron Judge isn't as hot, I think Bobby Witt should get the MVP. I just don't know if the Royals are going to be as good as they were last year just because they kind of overachieved.
Yeah.
I'm a big Bobby Witt guy. I like Gunner a lot. The thing with him was that I don't know what it was. I didn't watch a lot of Orioles baseball last year, but after the All-Star break, he just went ice cold. Like, I think he
Yeah.
had 28. He had close to 30 home runs before the break, and after the break, he didn't even touch 40. Like, it was still like 35. Like, he only had maybe 4 or 5 jacks in the back half of the year, which kind of scared me a little bit. And then obviously they kind of fizzled out in the playoffs. But I mean, Seager would be an interesting one if the Rangers are in the playoff hunt. I don't know if they'll give it to Seager if the Rangers miss out.
Yeah.
Trying to think what I would like to see Jose Ramirez get an MVP because I have him on my fantasy team and I think he deserves one. He was one.
Yeah, that'd be
I
a
think he
long
was
shot, but it's there.
yeah, but he was a stolen base I think away from a 40-40 year last year, which is low key unreal. I mean, Otani put up 50-50, right? But he's not playing probably the toughest defensive position on the field at third base, and I think Jose J Ram is like at least a league average defender, if not above average, and so I think kind of combining that all together, he's got a pretty good shot. Um, that'll be my sleeper, J Ram. I like him a lot.
I do too.
Oh, sleeper MVP NL. I just keep picking dudes off my team, but I think Ketel Marte could have a really good year for the Snakes. I think Burns could also be a Cy Young guy. Just thinking about that right now, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think those are some names to look out for. Kind of household names that don't get talked about a crazy ton just because there's a lot of New York and LA bias, kind of, but rightfully so.
It's funny you say that because that's kind of how the NL MVP odds go. It's Shohei, Soto, Tatis, Betts, top four.
I could very well see Tatis winning too. But I think between the Snakes and the Pods, I think the Snakes will be a better team, and I think that'll give them an edge. But I could totally see Tatis playing out of his mind and hitting like 40 with 110 ribbies, a couple stolen bases, some elite defense. Like, it doesn't surprise me, but that's the beauty of being 4 games into the MLB season is that there's still 157 left. So, I think we'll probably. I don't know if you have anything else on this baseball topic.
Let me chime in just on the NL MVP.
Yeah.
I do like Tatis a lot, and I know I've obviously it's very clear, way more respect for the Padres than you do.
I think they're good players. It's a bad organization.
Yeah, I think Tatis could definitely do it. I think Otani being the clear favorite is very fair. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little inflated. I'd kind of stay away from that for now. Soto, yes and no. Like maybe, but I think my favorite is pretty clearly Tatis. Maybe Mookie can, have a really good year. That wouldn't shock me, but then it gets like Ellie De La Cruz is number 6. Like I don't see that happening. Harper probably not, but I'm not going to rule him out. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Should we go to some NBA?
Then we'll down. I'm been itching to yell about my guys, so you take this one away.
Me or you on the Lakers?
You
want to talk about it, so let's go. Let's run it.
I mean, I guess transition. We'll transition a little bit over to NBA, specifically the boys in purple and gold, who make you want to rip your eyes out if you're a fan. Who also probably have made you really happy over the last week and a half, if you're not a fan. because they've just been total dog water. They've played 11 games in 17 days, which is the most games that have been played in 17 days this season, by like a good chunk. So shout out Adam Silver for that. But no excuses. I do think that the Jackson Hayes experiment's kind of dying down, and I don't know what it is with JJ Redick, but he's not playing him as much, and he's not playing as well, which I can kind of understand. Maybe they are related just because he's not getting enough time, but
I'll look at that really quick. I don't
I
think
think
it's
the
been like
need for a
bad.
center, he's not been terrible, but they just haven't been playing him, and then when they do play him, he hasn't been amazing. I
Yeah,
mean, he had a good game against the Bulls when they got smoked.
yeah. It was. I mean, and they didn't get smoked, right? Or am I
No,
forgetting?
the not the game winner one. It was the game on last Saturday when they lost by like 30 at home. The Bulls
Oh,
put up
okay.
like 150.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Um, but the LeBron injury couldn't have happened at a worse time. I don't know what's going on with him, but he doesn't look the same. I don't know if that's just because he's trying to get in the groove of things, which it probably is, but he was playing a
Yeah.
lot better before the injury, I can confidently say, than now.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
Pretty clear. Yeah.
yeah. And like Rui, whatever, I still think that they should trade Rui this offseason. I think Rui is a candidate to get moved, especially if they could get a Miles Turner or a Derek Lively esque player. Probably not Derek Lively himself for obvious reasons, but I think that they need somebody in the center position who can like actually fortify things. Because when you play teams like uh, I don't know who on the Lakers is going to guard Şengün if that comes up. I
Hmm.
don't really care about Jaren Jackson Jr. He's like a point guard in a small or power forward's body. Um, but like if you were to play the Mavs next year, right? Who's guarding Davis, Lively, Gafford?
Yeah.
It's not Jackson Hayes, Christian Koloko, and Trey Jamison, right? So I think that they have some moves to make. I'm not as high on them as I was when the trades happened, only because they've. It's not because they've lost. It's because of the ways they've lost. Like the Bulls game where they lost on the Giddy half court. I've
And
never
they were
seen.
controlling that game, by the way,
Yes, the
for the
whole
whole
way
game.
through, whole way
Yeah.
through,
Yeah.
and that was probably. I saw someone on Twitter say, but that was probably the worst 5 seconds of LeBron's career. He had the blown assignment on the first three,
For sure.
and
Yeah.
then the turnover. I'm not gonna pillage him about that because it's LeBron James. Like we can be,
Yeah, but like
you know,
I also like I try and be as fair as like because like I don't know, I hear people with their biases and there's just no consistency. I it Seeing that LeBron film, it was really hard for me to just like ignore that, you know?
and he was inefficient as shit that game. That was like
Yeah,
a
like
bad game.
I think a part of it for sure is like getting back into it. I do think I want to push back a little bit because I think my stance on the Lakers in the playoff picture, it's a little different because they're out of play for the 2 seed, I believe. Let me make sure I'm right on that. They're not out of play, but they need the Rockets to lose tonight badly, and as of right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So, the Suns are poverty, but um, I think so. Like right now, if it ended today, the Lakers would be playing
The
the
Grizz.
the Grizzlies. Grizzlies are scary, but you, okay. So
That's a
what
four piece.
this injury, what it's done is like, yes, LeBron's a little out of rhythm right now, but I'm really not worried about that.
Yeah.
It's LeBron James. We've seen this year after year, like he will step up in the playoffs. I guarantee it. Luka has gotten his rhythm down for sure. I don't know how it's looked the past couple games. I don't remember his box scores, but overall, we've seen the big games from Luka, which means he's kind of getting back into basketball form. He's for sure back in basketball form, almost in playoff form. And then you combine that with LeBron. You have guys starting to get healthy, like Rui's starting to come back. So that's what you want to. I would rather them throw the 2 seed away. Like if you had asked me, 2 weeks ago. I would have said if it guarantees that like LeBron's healthy and Luka's in form and the team is getting healthier, I would screw the 2 seed. Give me the 6 seed. I don't care, because like I think aside from the Thunder, like that's what I would not want to happen. I would not want to play like Thunder round 1. But other than that, I think the West is very gettable. Like the Nuggets do scare me, but you go down the list. I mean, I love my Rockets. That's my NBA team now for sure. But I think they're a couple veteran pieces away. The Nuggets are more vulnerable than they've been. The Grizzlies, with Ja being in and out, I don't trust them really at all. I don't trust the Warriors. Timberwolves are a little scary, especially what they can do defensively, but it's pretty open. So, like, if I put the Lakers up against any other team besides the Thunder, I'm taking them. So that's kind of my, like, coping, I guess. But I think it's
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I think the Wolves, I think the last time we were on the podcast, or maybe a couple ago, they were like doing terrible, and now they've kind of picked up steam. And
hot.
Julius Randle's playing like LeBron light. Like he's just playing like he's doing whatever they need him to, which I don't know why he hasn't figured this out sooner in his career, that he has the ability to, be a stout defender, be a good passer, all these different things.
Yeah.
But I think the Wolves in the first round would be probably the worst first round matchup, because I don't think realistically they'll play the Thunder. I don't think they're going to slip into the play-in.
No,
And
they're
like
not.
you said, Grizzlies are dog food. Rockets are probably dog food. The
Rockets
Nuggets,
are a little scary, only because they're a young team. If like, and they're gonna have energy, like,
yeah, but I don't
very.
think that they'll. I think their offense is going to be pretty porous against, especially in the playoffs. I don't know who the guy is that's going to get a bucket. I mean, Jalen Green's kind of came alive, but I don't trust Amon Thompson enough to be like the number one. Like,
No.
go get us 25 points and lock up Luca. Like, I don't think that's happening this season, although he has potential to be that player. But like the Wolves in the first round would kind of be a tough one, because it very realistically could be like if the Lakers were if the Lakers were to get to the NBA Finals, right? It could go Wolves, Nuggets, Thunder. Those are the 3 teams that I don't want the Lakers to see in the first round, because I think they can skate by winning in 5 against the teams that we mentioned. I think the Warriors are kind of interesting only because Curry at this time of the year kind of slows down and then he picks it up. And
Yeah,
I'm not. I
I'm
know I
kind of
said that
on the Warriors. I just, I'm not
they're
gonna.
not deep.
No.
Like it's just 2 guys and the backpack.
Yeah. Like I'm not gonna. I will always, if I were to like bet against the Warriors, I do it pretty cautiously because of Curry and like Jimmy. You take those things into account. You have to, but I just don't think they're. And Curry's had some like health things over the last couple of weeks. I
Yeah,
don't know if he's really 100% going into the postseason. Even if they were to rest him and their stance is okay, we're gonna get Curry as healthy as we can. Like, is that 95%? Is that 80? We know it's not going to be 100. That's ruled out. So I just it's hard for me to like. That's been kind of the silver lining with the Lakers stuff is LeBron's going to be going into the postseason rested and healthy for sure, guaranteed.
they play
And
today. No, they don't play today, right? Lakers.
no, they play tomorrow against the
Okay.
Rockets.
Oh, uh,
Yeah, good luck with that one.
yeah. I'm not feeling that one. I don't think. Um,
So that's kind of my. Um, I do want to talk about like the teams that I think are kind of underrated as we wrap up the regular season. I mean, we talked about this one episode. I love what the Pistons are doing. They just got blown out by the Wolves, but
tonight.
yeah, tonight. I still
Damn.
love what they're doing though.
No
Um,
Cade, right?
for tonight,
I
they
think he's
had
out.
no Cade, yeah,
No Cade, yeah.
no
Understandable.
Cade, no Tobias, no Jaden Ivey, but he's been out. So yeah, I think I like them with Cade a lot. They're a really fun young team to watch. They're one of my favorites. Um, let's see, is there anyone else in the East? I mean, it's kind of obvious.
Oh,
It's Cavs and Celtics.
a non-playoff team that I'm actually kind of interested in is the Wizards. It's so weird to say, but Bub Carrington, I think he's a solid player. Kaishan George, who's low key gonna be like a really good perimeter defender in the future, and maybe could be a two way guy. Alex Sarr, I think he's gonna be a really good two way player. And then the guy that I'm most hyped for was in that Kuzma trade.
Oh, I thought you
Um,
were gonna say something else.
oh no, no, AJ Johnson.
Hmm.
Um, he's had a couple of good games the last week. I want to say maybe a week and a half. He's got unlimited potential, and he can jump over an entire arena. So he's got all the athleticism in the world. They're building some fun stuff over there in DC. I'm not saying they're going to be anything. Um,
One key piece to this puzzle for the Wizards that you're missing right now.
Jordan Poole,
Oh, definitely not. He's
Chris
playing in
Middleton.
college. He's playing in college right now.
I don't think that they're going to get flagged.
I, I listen. eh,
If
I'm
if
really hoping Cooper is just like, I'm gonna stay. I don't want him to go to the Wizards. I'd probably crash out.
no, I low key think that would be a fun team, dude. That's a lot of wings that can play both sides of the ball. Like imagine a lineup with Flag, Carrington, George, Johnson, Sar. No shooting, just
Well,
just
Flag can
straight
do it.
cuts and lobs.
Yeah, I think I just want to see Flag do really well, and I don't want him to go to a team like Washington and turn into a Lamelo, and where it's just
But
like shitty.
realistically, where would Flag go to one of these? Like the only team that makes sense to me, and it would be a travesty on Adam Silver's part to do this, but dude, if the Spurs got Flag, oh,
That'd be
I'd
so
kill myself.
lit. That'd be so lit.
Like,
Not lit for the Lakers or the Rockets, but in terms of entertainment value, oh my
yeah,
gosh, that should be crazy. Are you
but I
kidding?
will say if they ended up getting him, I don't like the De'Aaron Fox move as much, only because I think that they would better suit for like more off-ball kind of play. I know that there was a rumor about Durant getting floated to San Antonio, and I thought he'd be a good maybe like two or three behind Wemby and Fox. I mean, I'm not a big Fox guy, but
Yeah.
um, that would be interesting. But like people were saying, like oh, like since Wemby got to go to the Spurs, right, and then Pelicans got the pick after Zion or after AD, right, and then the Cavs got the pick after LeBron left.
Yeah.
People are speculating that I guess out of all the top options that the Nets would be the team.
I
But
like the
like
fit a lot. I like it a lot in
I,
Brooklyn.
I just don't think that they have anything going for them either, you know? Like they basically they screwed themselves in the 2010s with the Pierce and Garnett trade, right? And then they
Yeah.
had to rebuild everything within like 5 years. You know, they had the 2019 D'Lo, Dudley, for that fun team that everyone I like them too, but outside of that, then they moved on. They got they stumbled upon Katie, Kyrie. They got James Harden, and they still couldn't do anything. You know, 2 inches on Katie's foot or whatever were the difference. In how we talk about him, but yeah, I don't think that the Nets are necessarily a better situation. Like, I mean, I sure as hell don't want him going to uh New Orleans or Charlotte.
Yeah, no.
I You can kiss that career goodbye.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, if you're guaranteeing me that it's good for him in Washington, then I'm all in. I just he's
Yeah.
like, for one, he holds it up for the white boys. Like, listen, he's not white, so he holds it up for the white boys because he's not white. So, but he's. I mean, you know me. I watch 20 times more college basketball than I do NBA, even though I'm way more involved in the NBA now. I do. I'm very consistent on that. But I love college basketball, and Cooper Flag is like, I mean, he's the truth.
You think
So
so?
I for sure. It's kind of different because like I think it's a Victor Wembanyama esque in the sense of like not the unicorn aspect, but Flag is going to go in next year if he goes, and he's going to be putting up 25 a game. I'm pretty confident. Like I think he translates really well, and he's not like a selfish guy either, which could hurt his rookie year a little bit if he's trying to just create for everyone all the time. Like their coach says all the time, Duke's coach, he's like, I tell Flag to like, please be aggressive. You can score on anybody, just go, like, do your thing. And he doesn't do that, and he still ends up with like 25 a game. So like, I mean, I think there's not really a big like, the ceiling is limitless for Flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different from Victor because the unicorn thing, but like in terms of production and what they're gonna be, like the Hall of Fame ceiling is like the same to me.
It's pretty fair.
I mean, Cooper Flag reclassified. He's 18 years old, and he's doing this in college, and they're in the Final Four. Like, it's pretty ridiculous.
It'll be interesting to see where he lands up because I don't think there's like a clear stinker of a team this year. Like I don't
Yeah,
think that there's like one team with way better odds than everybody else, you know.
yeah. I
I
don't know
mean,
if you heard what LeBron said about the draft lottery the other day, with like him going back to Cleveland, Rose staying in Chicago, but I don't
oh,
think.
I think I think I read or maybe heard something about that.
Yeah, like who knows what's really going on
Where's
in the
Flag
draft
from?
lottery. Flag is Maine, which is really interesting.
Yeah, Brooklyn makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep, I guess he's in that
So does
bucket.
DC though. So does DC. I don't know. It's just like,
Bigger market.
yeah.
It would be cool to see him go to Brooklyn because he'd probably get a lot more national coverage than the Wizards in general.
I can't
Being in
imagine
one,
putting the Wizards on like ESPN. Like,
yeah. But
like
I will say that'd be a cool s- spot for him because I think you have veteran presence in Middleton, and I think is it Brogdon that's there or Marcus Smart? It's Marcus Smart, right?
Marcus Smart's there. I know that for sure. That's
Yeah.
definitely right.
Is Brogdon on the Trailblazers? Is that where I'm thinking?
Uh, Hold on.
But nonetheless, the Wizards have good
Oh,
veteran leader.
Brogdon.
Yeah,
He's a Wizard.
Wizard. Okay, so I mean they have three good veterans there. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know what their contracts look like, but if they were around for next year, I think those are three guys that could help Cooper Flag's game. You're never too good to learn, especially
Oh,
Middleton was Michael Jordan in an NBA Finals before. Marcus Smart was the Defensive Player of the Year. Brogdon's kind of like he's a good ball handler, good point of attack guy, or once was. Um, but I'm gonna be interested to see where Flag ends up, only because I mean this. I kind of want to end with this, but
yeah.
there's a team, and we're probably not. The more I describe it, I don't think that you're gonna get it on the first try who it is. But there's a team out there that is so. There's a team that could very well get Cooper Flag, and I don't know how much it would change their ceiling for next year, but it would be they very well could just go get him. Um, do you know who I'm talking about?
I mean, I have a guess.
Who do you?
Sure. If their ceiling isn't changing, it's got to be Boston.
Okay, that's a good that was actually a pretty good swing. I could totally well not. The thing,
'Cause they have the picks and stuff, right? I mean, also OKC. Is that who you're thinking?
yeah, OKC was more, but I will say I saw a news article that came out about Boston, and they said that Boston wasn't looking to do any drastic changes despite blah blah blah. I don't know what they were doing in spite of that, but I mean, imagine a team comes up to you and is like, "Hey, like Jaylen Brown's a bona fide superstar. We'll trade the Cooper Flag pick to you for Jaylen Brown and another first."
I would do it if I was if I was the other team. I don't know how I like pass up on Flag. like I think it'd have to be JB, a first, and maybe another first, maybe
Yeah.
something else. Because
I think a team with something that's like kind of brewing.
mm-hmm.
Because I mean the Celtics I think are going to get shafted by the apron, like the CBA agreement after this year. So the money is kind of interesting, and the same thing with Thunder. They're gonna have to pay J-Dub soon. They're gonna have to pay Chet soon.
But
Um,
do you think like out of like those two guys specifically, they're not really like max guys, right? Or am I like sleeping hardcore?
I mean, okay, so obviously SGA's, shout
Like
out,
SGA deserves it, so
yeah.
give him the 100.
Um, but like J-Dub kind of confuses me only because I don't know what his ceiling is. Like I think kind of how he is right now is kind of around his around his ceiling. I think if he were to go to a team like the Nets per se, I think he could be a number one. I just don't think I think he's more of like a 1B. Like he can be like the Robin to someone's Batman. I just don't think he is Batman. And the same thing with Chet. But if I were the Thunder and the team with the first pick was like, hey, if you give us J Dub and 4 first round picks, Cooper Flag is yours. You
Oh, I would
reset.
do it if I was OKC.
I would do it too because I mean, what are you hoarding all those picks for when you have an MVP on your team, right? Like you have the best team in basketball right now. You have guys like Cason Wallace, Caruso, Dort. Don't know how long they're going to be able to keep this core around, especially with the money thing looming. Um, I think it's a no-brainer, but then again, is the team that has the first pick going to want to do that? I mean, J Dub he's in his second year, I think.
Yeah,
He's a second year All Star who averages 25 and 5 ish and plays good defense, especially considering that he's not on the Supermax deal. Like you could maybe get a cheaper deal out of him. I don't know. Specifically because he wouldn't be with the Thunder anymore. And it's like the Luka thing where the Mavs didn't want to pay him 350. They traded him, and now he's not eligible for the Supermax extension or whatever.
yeah.
Which I guess I don't know if the Supermax extension is for first time contract guys. I don't know how the CBA works, but CJ McCollum's a terrorist.
Yeah.
Um, but
So
yeah,
here's my interesting thing with OKC. I think, and this has kind of been covered in like media discussions, but if they win like the championship, I don't think they're going to make a splash. But if they don't win the championship, I think it's pretty guaranteed they're going to make a splash because they have all the draft picks. Well, and it's like you said, right? I mean, what's the use in all the draft picks if you're like, because I know they're not all their draft picks. Like I think one of them is like,
yeah, like Rockets, Clippers,
well, there's
basically
one really bad team in there. I think that like
Sixers.
they have their, maybe it might be Sixers. So they have like all these first round picks, and if they're not all like lottery first round picks, then there's not really a reason to be holding them. It's I personally have always thought the NBA draft is a little overrated. Aside from like the generational guys, like you don't really get value in the second round in the NBA. Like you can for sure, but it's way more rare than the NFL where you have 12 on 12 or 11 on 11, whatever it is, and there's so many positions on a football field to contribute versus
Yeah.
there's 5 guys on the court at one time. And now in the NBA, it's like pretty positionless. So like, I don't know. It's just once you're in the second round, late first round, you're kind of drafting all the same caliber. Like half of the guys aren't even on the team in year 2. That's how it goes. So I think you ship those picks if you don't win the championship and you're OKC. Obviously, KD's going to be a free agent. No, not a free agent, but they might deal him. So that's something to look out for if they don't win the championship or the Cooper Flag scenario. Like I think those are their main 2 paths if they don't win it all this year. Like one of those 2, I think will happen.
I could low key see if they won it this year, and they'd be like, "Hey, like this core has been awesome, but let's flip J Dub and picks for Cooper Flag, and that way we can kind of reset."
Yeah.
on that. I think that would be pretty interesting because then it creates questions further down the line versus sooner. But out of all the situations, I think Oklahoma City would be a pretty killer one for him to end up in. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I don't know any of the other prospects, and we probably don't have the time to talk about them today. But there's some
Yeah.
other guys that could be good
I mean,
quality.
it's flag and then a cliff, a pretty big cliff.
Yeah, but
But
never
there's
know.
good college players out there right now. Like I mean, they're fine, but it's different when there's generational guys like that.
Yeah, but
Um, well, we'll get out of here. I'll do my very quick college basketball rant. We got the Final Four coming up this Saturday. This episode will be dropping Wednesday, so it's coming up. I might make an appearance. We'll see. It's a lot of people are saying college basketball is dead with NIL. This is like the best Final Four we've had probably in my lifetime. Even though it is very chalky, it's all one seeds, but like it's way better than the as fun as SDSU was to have in that spot. I loved it. I was pulling for him so hard,
that was
but
cool.
it was just like it was a mid-tier Final Four. Miami like 5 seed, SDSU was like a 5 or a 6, I think.
Yeah,
FAU was an 8 or 9 seed, and then UConn. It was just like there was no hype. This is what you want. You want the upsets in the first round for sure, but you don't want like McNeese making it to the Final Four. Like that, they're gonna lose. So,
yeah.
so we're in for an insane Final Four. I had the hardest sports moment of my life, no question, when CSU lost. I don't know if you saw that, but
Uh,
I was
yeah.
freaking destroyed. Um, Easily hardest sports moment ever. That took me
Really?
for sure, for sure. The difference is like that was so instant because we hit the three with 3 seconds to go to have a lead on Maryland, and it was like holy shit, we're going to the Sweet 16. And then you have a buzzer beater hit on you, and it just in 3 seconds goes from top to like you're just dead. That was
There's
really like
there's
I
one
was
specific game I'm thinking of that low key I definitely would.
it just that game it was like it was hard for sure, but it was also like it was over the whole game and it wasn't close at the end. Like you're thinking of the 24-0, right? Yeah, it's just very hard but very different. And
Okay.
I also know all like a bunch of those CSU guys. Like Neek I played AAU
Oh yeah.
basketball with. I know the players like, from Nick just I mean, and I went to that school, so it's like yeah, that was a rough one, but it's going to be a great Final Four. I'm probably going to make the drive out to San Antonio, 3 hours away, and
Yeah.
see some pretty crazy games. So it'll be fun. My
Yeah.
bracket is probably cooked unless Auburn pulls it out, which they might.
We'll get some live coverage from Huddy while he's out there. Maybe.
Oh, yep. Um, so it's always a bummer that college basketball is coming to an end. I don't get to talk about it, but it's can't beat it, man. It's the NFL that beats it, and that's probably it for me.
Relax.
That's a personal bias take. I love college basketball.
Fair
It's coming
enough.
to an end. But appreciate y'all for if you made it this far. This is our longest episode yet, but I had to fit in the college basketball, so
No,
uh,
we that was a good episode. We did
that was
kind of
solid.
covered all everything that we've been missing, I guess, for like about a week or so. So it's pretty
We're,
informative.
it's fun that baseball's back. Once I'm through this busy work season, I'm going to be going to a lot of Astros games. I'm pumped. I got to see who's coming. I don't. I looked at buying tickets early, but they were taxing, so I passed on that. I'll probably go to let's see. Oh yeah, they host the Blue Jays. Yeah, I'll be there for that. That'll be sick. So we're back, man. Baseball's back. NBA's getting to the playoffs. It's gonna be fun, man.
All right.
Well, we'll see y'all on the other side. We'll be back soon. Um, as always, we got everything in the description. If you got feedback for us, let us know. Um, Hayden knows, but I've been very busy. But hopefully, over the next couple weeks, we'll do a better job with the content on both sides. Again, I mean, this is all for fun, but we wanna try and grow it. So, especially if we have some momentum going into the next football season, that'd be pretty fun. So, all right, y'all. We'll see y'all.